Now, through the miracles of modern technology, zany worldwide banner featuring Tom, Michelle, and Jim in an on-topic, off-topic free-for-all. Welcome to the Gun Talk After Show.
Don't look now. Hide women and children. It is the After Show. Hi, guys.
Hi, Tom.
Hi, Dad.
Jim and Michelle are here. What's this story I hear about you selling a whole bunch of those Rugers? Are they just loving your gun, Michelle?
Yes, it's a very unique opportunity. I was sharing with Jim the fact that I have been able to place that firearm in the hands of many women who have come into our store asking about pistols and where to start and something easy and something that doesn't scare them. It's been a phenomenal option to present to them, and it's a popular pistol in our area again. So, again, thank you.
Ruger's new, the LCR,
the
light compact revolver, LCR, but specifically chambered for the .327 Federal cartridge, right?
Yep, that's right.
Okay. Cool. That is so what happens? They handle it, they shoot it, and they buy it?
Yeah, because they're like, oh my gosh, I put 32 Smith & Wesson long wad cutter ammunition into it, and I always tell them, I want a woman to be comfortable in our world. I want you to get more education, and I want you to have something that I know is not going to scare you and prevent you from further education. And they go out to our pistol range because we have that ability at our store to take them right there at the time and give them 6 shots. And I said, you're going to know in 1 or 2. And then just shoot the others for fun. And that's really what ends up happening. And then it's just like, oh my gosh, I love it. Because it's easy to function.
Yeah.
It's great.
Now, do you have the laser on yours?
I do have the laser on mine. And it is...
That's a nice combination.
Rub it in.
Yeah, I know, Jim. But it is a great tool.
It is, Jim. You could have a laser. You're just cheap.
That's it. I have to buy another gun first because the other one's gone.
Oh, that's right. Somebody stole your gun. I forgot.
Something like that.
I know where it went.
Yeah.
If you just go find your wife and you'll find your gun.
Yeah. I'm afraid you're right on.
She took it. Well, speaking of women who are looking for a gun, our first caller here on line 3, Christy, is calling in from Grant Haven, Michigan. Hey, Christy.
Hi. Well, you had asked on your program if anyone was buying a gun because of Obama and what was going on, and I definitely bought a gun for that reason. My husband's owned guns all his life. I mean, he got his first BB gun when he was 3. So he's had, multiple guns and has multiple guns, but I've never thought about it. I always thought, I don't need a gun. There's no reason. But I see that, all of our rights are just kind of being taken away. And I just started to wonder, will I even be able to get one in a year? Even next month. And when the attacks in France happened, I don't know, something really motivated me. And I told my husband that day, I said, I'm getting a gun. And we went out that week, and I bought a .38. And I can't say I'm that happy with it. I think I probably made the wrong choice, but that's what I have for now.
Okay. Well, you know what? That's a great attitude, because that is exactly what happens. That's what I have for now, because you can either get another one in addition, or you can get a different one. You can trade or sell that one. So you're not stuck. Let me ask you this question. What is it about the .38 that you're not crazy about?
Well, I have just a little bit, I'm fairly young, but I still have a little bit of arthritis in my left hand, and I'm a left-handed shooter. So it just seems to take too much effort to pull that trigger. So it's just, when I fire my husband's .22, it's so easy. Right. And then when I fire the .38, it's so hard. And I don't know. But my husband says it's great if you use a .22. But in a life or death situation, is a .22 useful? I don't know. Well,
yes, absolutely, it's useful. Now, is it enough? We won't know until we get there. Let me ask you a quick question. What brand revolver did you buy?
It's a Smith & Wesson.
Smith & Wesson, okay. And they make good quality products, but I know exactly what you're talking about. The trigger pull may be a little bit much if you have arthritis, because it's a double-action trigger pull. And, of course, you're getting the recoil of a .38, which leads me back to, at this point, I'm going to step aside and let you talk to Michelle. Michelle, you have the floor.
You probably just heard us discussing, one of the new little revolvers that Ruger puts out. It's called the LCR. It's in a .327 Magnum, and that is a double action only pistol, but the way they have designed the gun is extremely easy to pull the trigger. It's not anything that's extremely difficult, but I would say it may be too much for you still. And there's always an option of doing something, if you have a gunsmith in your area, called a trigger job. And they can go in there and they can lighten, by changing the angles on parts, the amount of pull, the amount of actual finger pulling back that trigger that it takes to make the firearm go off.
Now, if you do that, what are the chances that, you're carrying it and it just goes off more suddenly? Or my son gets a hold of it and something happens? That's what makes me nervous.
How old is your son? Okay. There should never be a time, literally never be a time, when he could physically get his hands on that gun.
I agree, but I'm saying in the worst case circumstance, something happens.
Okay. Worst case circumstance, you do not want to have a gun where you say, I want a gun that's really hard for me to shoot as a way of protecting my son should he pick up the gun. That's just a real backward way to approach it. I'm just telling you, you're either in control of your gun and it's right there with you, or it's locked up so that he can't get it. And by locked up, I mean like one of these little gun vault type small metal box. It's easy to, you can get into it in 2 seconds. If you needed to.
Yes.
And let me put you at ease too, Christy. We're not talking about being able to have a trigger to what is called a hair trigger, where all you have to do is breathe on the firearm and it'll go off. We're saying it's going to be reduced to the amount where it's comfortable. There's a safety spot that really no one's going to go underneath.
It's still going to be safe.
Right. And this is where your training is going to come into play. When you pull that gun from a holster, your finger shouldn't automatically go onto that trigger. It should go right onto the side of the frame until you're on target or have that target in your sights, and then you automatically go to that trigger. So
specifically what Michelle is saying is your finger quite literally should never touch the trigger until your sights are on the target and you've made a conscious decision to shoot. You shouldn't have your finger even touching the trigger until that point. One of the opportunities here might be to, instead of a revolver, you may want to consider a semi-auto, a 380 specifically, because that has a lighter trigger pull. It's easier for a lot of people to operate. The only issue there is learning how to operate the slide, and that's not so much strength as it is technique, where you pull the gun in and you work the slide. Something, Smith & Wesson has a bodyguard. And I would probably go for a 380. What do you think, Michelle?
I would recommend to her that the possibility is there to get into a 380 for sure. That's probably one of the easiest places to fall in line, if you will, because with that 380, they're small, which is what most people are after. And like you say, Tom, they're fairly easy to handle as far as the slides go. Can be a little difficult. SIG makes some that are a little bit easier than others. Some have lasers already built into them, some don't. But Christy, I would say to you, is there a store in your area that has a range, or that you are comfortable with the salespeople recommending a gun and then actually being able to try that? Because I think that is what's imperative here. I think you have to try it so you don't have any kind of buyer remorse.
Right.
There is. I just joined a gun range, which is something I thought I would never hear myself saying. But yes, I just joined a gun range.
That a girl.
These are all baby steps, and it's a walk that we've all made. We've gotten to the guns that we have for a reason.
Christy, I have to ask you a question. All right, you never thought you were going to buy a gun, and you bought a gun. And you never thought you'd join a gun range, and now you have. What do your friends think of all of this?
They think I'm crazy and overreacting and that there's no need for it. And what about my son? What if he, accidentally pulls the trigger? And, I run a daycare in my home. So then there's even more, I'm even crazier because I have more kids in the house during the day. But, we have a safe and it's not like we have the guns out. So all around, everyone just thinks I'm crazy.
Can I say that on the female side, on the mom side, my kids were raised in the same type of home. My kids are very mature adults, and never once has a gun acted out against them. So, but also with that, we educated our children and gave them the opportunity to handle, to shoot, to show to a friend that their family knew they were coming into a house. If there was a potential that they wanted to shoot a firearm, we would call and we would make sure that it was okay with the parents. So we have always stood by the fact that you have got to educate them, because if you don't educate the children, it's curiosity. Yeah. They find it, they think it's a toy, and that's when bad things happen. So the education is all on you, and you have the opportunity to make it an extremely safe experience with not only your child, but your friends or somebody else's that may say, yes, I'm a proponent of this. Teach them, because education is the key to everything you're discussing.
That's what my husband keeps telling me.
Now you have an opportunity to do something really fun. Find a way to get your friends to the range with you, with a good instructor, and say, look, okay, I understand you're not in favor of this, but you ought to at least try it so you have some kind of frame of reference so you know what you're talking about. Take them out. If you're introduced to it correctly with a good instructor, with guns that don't kick too much, they are going to have so much fun. You guys will have a ball together, really.
I will say, when I went to the gun range for my first time, and they started me out on a 22, not on my 38. And when I first did that, I had a lot of fun. It was nothing like I expected. I thought I would hate it. I thought it would kick back a lot. I thought, I'd be sore, but it was nothing like I expected, and I did a lot better than I expected too. I don't know. It was exhilarating. I really liked it.
You know what? 22s are fun. I mean, when you go to the range, shoot a bunch of 22s, it's just flat out fun. Well, congratulations, Christy. I really applaud you. And here's the thing. If that gun that you have now is not what you want, do not keep saying, well, I'm going to keep shooting this. I don't like it. It kicks too much. It's hard for... No, make a change. Go try some others. Get to the range. Rent some guns. Get an instructor. But find one that works. And if it turns out to be a 22, then it's a 22. And that's still a whole lot better than a big pen in your hand.
That's true. Okay.
All right. Well, look, thank you so much for the call. And look, if you have questions further down the line, by all means, give us a call and we'll tackle them for you, okay?
Thank you.
All right. Absolutely. Tell you what, guys, we ran along with Christy. Let's do this. Let's take a quick break. We've got Brian and Bill. Don't go anywhere, guys. We're going to get right back to you. We'll take a quick break, and then we'll be right back.
The Smith & Wesson Bodyguards. Carry more comfortably, walk more confidently. When it comes to personal protection, nothing beats a Bodyguard. Choose the lightweight, compact, and concealable Bodyguard 380 pistol or the Bodyguard 38 revolver, both with a built-in laser sight. The Smith & Wesson Bodyguards. Carry more comfortably, walk more confidently.
All right, we are now back. I know I kept Brian and Bill waiting, and we want to get to them. Michelle, I'm so glad you were able to talk with Christy. We always say a 38 Special, 38 revolver is more of an expert's gun, and I got to tell you, I'm not a fan. What I wanted to say was I hate it when somebody starts out a woman with a 38 revolver because it's hard to shoot. I mean, they're great guns, but they're harder to shoot, and they kick a lot, and they're not fun to shoot. Is that fair?
Well, I think you have to be very specific about which firearm you place in their hand, and that comes from the side of my own experiences. Most of these guns, somebody goes into the store and they're like, I want something small, I want something for concealed carry. Okay, are you looking for concealed carry, or you're looking for something that's comfortable to shoot on the range? Because those are completely different issues, and I think that's what has to be.
Things.
Yep, I think that's what has to be shown to somebody, especially when they're new, like Christy is. These are great for concealed carry. They're lightweight, but because of that, these are the other things that you have to look at. Where this one might be a heavier gun, give you less recoil, easier to shoot. It's not ideal for concealed carry.
Right.
So
every gun's a compromise.
Yes, it is. And I think it's where patient listening and understanding and trying comes into play. It's just imperative that you try it. You wouldn't buy a car without driving it. Don't do the same thing with a firearm. Shoot it first. I know, right?
And don't let your husband pick out your gun for you.
No, please. I can't express that enough.
Don't do that. And if your husband, don't do that. You will pick the wrong gun. Besides, it's not up to you. It's up to her. It's what fits her hand, what she can shoot. All right, let's do this. Let's go to Brian on line 4 out of California. Brian, thank you so much for your patience.
I saw on the news that Obama is going to have an empty seat at the State of the Union address for victims of gun crime.
Oh, that's what he's going to do, and more theater, huh?
Yeah, so just going back to Fast and Furious, this is somebody who has manufactured victims of gun crime. If you look at Agent Brian Terry and, the uncounted hundreds, of people, Mexican citizens who were killed using those guns. The Republicans, they should have an empty seat for those people.
Oh, great idea. If he's going to have an empty seat for victims of gun violence, then the Republicans should have an empty seat for the people who were murdered with the guns supplied by the U.S. government in not a botched operation, but an operation that went exactly as designed, because the operation was designed to put guns into the hands of murderous narco-terrorists in Mexico, and they succeeded. And maybe we're thinking more than 400 people now have been killed with these guns that Obama's Justice Department actually made happen. I love it. Great idea, Brian. Thank you, sir. Bill, Vancouver, Washington, line 2. Hey, Bill.
Hi, Tom.
Hi there.
Hey, I thought you might want to hear my range report on that new Browning 1911 and 380 ACP.
Ooh. Oh, absolutely. I have not had a chance to shoot it, so I am interested.
Yeah, I think it was announced at the SHOT Show last year, and my buddy and I have been trying to find them, and he finally found one at Cabela's down here in Portland area, and fell in love with it and bought it and brought it home. And I got a chance to shoot it. And so I have the pluses and minuses lined up if you want me to kind of run through it.
Yeah, we'd love to know. The three of us are sitting here going, yeah, please tell us.
That's right.
Drool.
That's right.
Well, on the plus side, it's definitely a 1911. It looks like a 1911 from across the room. It's kind of reduced in size, but the fit and finish are absolutely top notch. It's just absolutely beautiful, and even the fact that it has a plastic lower, you wouldn't notice it. It's so well done, and the colors match, and it's just. I can't emphasize enough how good it looks.
It's kind of Honey, I Shrunk the 1911.
I think so, yeah, through the hot cycle. It's ridiculously light, even with a full magazine. Don't know how much it weighs, but it can't be a whole lot more than an LCP, which is very surprising. Even my wife loved it, and it's very easy shooting, no recoil to speak of, even with some defense loads in it. In fact, I'm afraid I may have to end up buying one for my wife. She liked it so much.
Wow, there's a theme. There's a theme with this.
I hate when that happens.
Jim, you guys need to get together. Jim and Bill can go off and talk about that. We know
I can't relate to that at all, Bill.
How easy is the slide to function? Because that's always one of the big questions that we get.
I didn't notice that it was very heavy. I didn't pay attention to it particularly, but I think it was fairly light to work.
Awesome.
It's got a double recoil spring on it, and a plastic recoil rod, which was a little surprising, but apparently not a problem. And like Browning says, it's the right size. It'd be very concealable, especially I think for a lady. It's because of its size and its weight.
Is it pretty thin?
Very thin, yeah. The only thing that thickens it is having the ambidextrous safeties on it.
So far, it's sounding awfully good. So what did you find about it that you didn't like?
Well, first of all, the cost. It's pretty spendy. It was like $650.
Okay. Yeah.
It's still very high quality, so that wouldn't be an absolute kill deal for me. I think on the serious issue is the capacity. I think it only holds about 8 rounds, 7+1.
Or maybe it's 7+1, correct. It's by the way, I looked it up. It's 17 and a half ounces. Yeah, that is light.
So, in a 380, you'd expect maybe to get a little bit more capacity out of it since you're sacrificing some knockdown power.
Well, you know what the answer to that is? You carry two of them.
There you go.
He's always an enabler.
You knew I was going to get there, didn't you?
Yeah, well, I haven't been able to afford one yet. Now you got me buying two.
Or three because your wife needs one.
She'll need two.
Yeah,
right.
Maybe my dog does.
Oh, you don't need a car.
Another thing that's probably fixable is the sights are they're target sights. You've got a partridge front sight on it, so it's all black, and it's. I don't know that they'd be very good for a defense sight, and maybe there's a way to paint them up or get some replacement sights for that. That was kind of a drawback to me.
I'd get me a can of Day Glow Orange and spray that puppy down.
Yeah, be sure and cover up the rest of the beautiful finish, though, because you wouldn't want to hurt that.
Right.
True. Okay.
I guess the other downside is, this is my personal thinking, is it has the drawbacks of 1911 for carrying cocked and locked as a defense round, defense gun. I used to carry a Colt Mustang in 380. And one time I went to pull it out of my holster and the safety was off, and it just scared the devil out of me. And I think that's still something to think about when you carry a 1911 for everyday carry.
Well, it's interesting because the things that you mentioned as negatives or cons are, at the very least, what's good about it is they are things you would know before you bought the gun. You got the magazine capacity. Okay, you know what that is before you go in. The cost, you know what that is before you go in. And certainly the fact that it's a 1911, you know about that. The sights I get, you can say, okay, maybe not perfect for self-defense, but that's the good part is sights are interchangeable. We can swap those out. But for a shooter, you like the way it's shot, I guess is what you're saying.
Oh, it's just beautiful. Amazingly, and I guess it must be in the balance because it sure isn't in the weight. Or maybe it's the fact your web of your hand is high up on it, right under the barrel, and it keeps the recoil and the flipping not to be a problem.
Or it might just be because John Browning was a freaking genius.
Yeah, that's a given.
That's right. We just start from that.
Yeah, 1911. Well, that'll never catch on. That design.
Yeah, right. How long will that hang around? Well, that is a great range report, Bill. Thank you so much. I have been very curious about this pistol and just have not gotten one in to try it. So that is terrific. Now, Bill, the question is, are you going to buy one?
No, I don't think so. I have more handguns than I could probably carry if I swapped them out one every day for a couple of weeks. And if I'm going to that low a capacity, I think I'd rather have my single stack 9. Otherwise, if I'm going
kind of with you there.
I'm going to have a double stack.
But it sure sounds like it'd be a real nice range gun, especially for introducing somebody into shooting.
Yeah, a good kit gun, for out in the woods or something.
Yeah.
When you're fishing.
But I'm kind of with you. If I'm going to go single stack, I'd like to have as much as I can get out of each round. So, different choices. I mean, I went ahead and bought a Glock 42 380, but it's a good bit smaller, and it's kind of one of those, it fits into this little bitty narrow niche. We all do the same thing, don't we? We find excuses or reasons for getting stuff. Bill, thank you for the call, sir. You guys, I know you're.
I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, no.
Yeah, I have no idea. It is an interesting gun, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's interesting that he said the recoil was, from his conversation, that it was so, I guess, reduced or not a lot to it because, man, sometimes you get into those smaller, lighter weight guns and you start to feel the recoil because they are lighter weight. So there's got to be something to
I'm thinking that two-stage spring comes into play.
Yeah, got to be something to that.
Probably. But, and the other thing is, look, 17 and a half ounces is not LCP weight. That's heavier than an LCP.
Right.
Yeah, and also you got a little bit longer barrel, and you got a little bit longer grip. You got something to hang on to. That's going to make the recoil much more manageable. And
to me, I understand what he's talking about. And of course, like we discussed last week with Jim's belly and stuff, we understand sights. But to me, that would be a plus because most of the time, these little guns have just nubbins of a sight that you can barely see. So that is a huge plus for me. I'd love to have one in. We haven't gotten one in yet. We'll keep searching.
Think about this as a gun for introducing somebody to shooting. You have thin gun, not heavy, not a lot of recoil, and a really nice single-action trigger pull. Wow, another reason to buy another gun.
There's a niche.
Another week, another gun. Here we go.
That's your New Year's resolution, right?
That's right. One a week is all we ask. It's like the almond growers, right? Oh, goodness gracious. I really did like Christy's call. I'm kind of sorry that I'm not saying that a Smith & Wesson 38 is a bad gun, obviously, because I have several of them and like them. It's just as a first gun, I think anybody's 38 Special is probably not a great way to go.
I think it takes some consideration as to what your real objective is to your purchase. Are you looking for a concealed gun, or, because that depends on whether you get something lightweight. I understand what you're saying as far as the caliber goes, but they've been around for a long time, and as far as ease of use, obviously revolver is the easiest thing that you can get into, and there's always the dynamics that happen in our store of, well, there's no safety. Well, the biggest safety you have on anything, because it's mechanical, it can fail. It's not, you try to use it, but it can fail, is right between the ears. Yep. Without being rude to anybody. Safety. Yeah, and it's truly training, and when you pull from the holster, like we talked with her, not having your finger on the trigger right away, it's on the side of the frame, and there's a lot that goes into this. It's not just as easy as going to the store and picking out a gun.
Well, we tend to think it is sometimes because we're so used to them that you forget the first time you had a semi in your hand and went, what's this?
Right.
How's this work?
Yeah, what are these controls? What does this button do? What does this lever do?
Riddle me this, Batman. Has anybody ever made a revolver with a safety?
Yes.
That's all I need to know. Can I buy one?
We don't know. We don't know about them anymore for good reason. Why?
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, now here's one. There actually was an automatic revolver.
Oh yeah.
Yep. It was okay. Imagine the grip up to just below the cylinder as being one half of the gun, and then the rest of the frame above the cylinder is the second half of the gun, and those two halves are mated together on a rail. Okay? And when you fire the gun, the whole upper mechanism slides rearward like a slide on the frame, on the grip, and it engages a catch, and it actually rotates the cylinder, cocks the hammer, and then the whole frame goes forward, ready to fire again. Yeah, but if you look up automatic revolver, you will see a picture of this strange thing. I can't remember if that was a can't remember. I want to say Webley, but I'm not sure if that's correct.
What if Crossbeard makes a holster for that and call him Monday?
Yeah, give him a holler. Say, look, I'm going to send you a gun. I'm sure you can sell a zillion of these, right?
Oh, yeah, at least one.
Yeah, and maybe. Automatic revolver. There you go. An automatic revolver.
You're sending me a link, I take it.
Oh, Webley Fosbury automatic revolver. There it is. Picture of it. Son of a gun. It's all on the Wikipedia, so it has to be real, right?
And accurate.
Yeah, if you look up Webley Fosbury, Fosbery, automatic revolver, made in the UK from 1901 to 1915. Did not last as long as the 1911. How about that?
Wow, there's even YouTube's a guy shooting them. How cool.
Is that cool? So there you go. So somebody said, oh, that's stupid. What's he know? An automatic revolver. I go, well, actually, there was one way back. No, I don't have one of those.
But it is only January.
Buy one. That's true.
There's time.
That's true. I'm only 2 weeks into the year, and let's see.
Hello, gun.
I do have that Ruger American pistol over here, and let's see. Got to go get my gun of the week here. So.
GOW, as we say in the business.
GOW, that's right. Or I say down here, golly. So, what do you do, Michelle, when you get a husband and wife comes in and the husband is doing all the talking and wanting to buy this gun and select a gun for the wife?
It's a little difficult because...
It's tricky, isn't it?
Yeah, because there's times when all the communication or all the questions are from the husband, or this is what I want her to get. Be like, okay, I understand that. However, and this is the way I approach it, my husband and I obviously are both into firearms. Neither him nor I carry the same gun, and there's a reason for that. What works for him, I can shoot, but doesn't work for me in the aspect of that's what my go-to piece is.
It's not the best choice for you.
Right. And so I try to break it down just like I did with Christy, or in conversation thereafter, is what is the intent of the firearm? What are you wanting to make this purchase for? What reason? Are you just wanting to get education? Are you only wanting to look at concealed carry option? Those are all determining factors, and it takes some quiet consideration, and it takes an awful lot of time in private communication between the three people, the salespeople and the two customers. And it really comes down to the point of, I understand what you're saying. However, I know from my experience, this is what has worked the best. Or if I can let you try this gun, you'll understand. And we have the unique ability because of our range to allow them to shoot, not obviously the new guns in the showcase, but something that's very similar or the exact same model as what is there. And I just think it's imperative to allow the woman to find her own gun. If she finds something, and this is another thing too that I use, if you find a gun that you like, you will become an enthusiast. And then that will take motivation in a completely different direction to where she is now coming to the firing range and she is now bringing her friends and she is now educating the children. And it's a completely different tool at that point in time.
Well, you heard Christy say when she went to the range and she shot the .22, she was surprised. She had so much fun. She did real well with it. And then when she was talking about the .38, she wasn't having much fun. And she, was not really crazy about it. So she had a really nice gun in her hand and was having fun. But Michelle, I want to go back to one thing you said here because I want to make sure that everybody gets it. You made a great point because people will say, well, I want to buy a self-defense pistol. And I'll say, is this for the home? Well, I might carry it, but mostly it's for the home. At which point I try to say, then get a gun for the home. Because those, while they can be the same, chances are those are two different guns.
Right.
What is the specific thing this is for? Or is it a gun you're mostly going to shoot at the range? And if that's the case, let's get you a really nice range gun, which very well may end up being a .22.
And there's nothing wrong with that. It's very easy to train on a .22. And if you're a revolver person, get a .22 revolver. If you're a semi-auto person, get a semi-auto. I mean, it's cheap. It's, like I said, it's excellent training. There's no recoil, so there's no intimidation factor. And if you ever wanted to introduce anybody to the sport, that's the only place to start, in my opinion.
Oh, I agree. I would, if I could be king, everybody would start shooting. Their first 10 range experiences would be with a .22 before anybody moves them up to center fire so that they could absolutely fall in love with shooting and understand it and get into it before they do anything else.
Yeah. How many times have you seen somebody put like a Red Hawk in a newbie's hand?
Oh, gosh.
And then they're laughing.
Not around me,
buddies.
they don't.
Yeah, exactly.
No, not around me. I won't even let it happen anymore. I mean, I have become somewhat intolerant of jerks who want to hurt people with guns as a way of being funny.
Oh, but it's funny, man. Look at how much she's scared and intimidated.
Let me videotape it and put it out there on YouTube. But, you know, how many times have you run across that on a public range, Tom, where they're taking their friends out? I mean, even guys with other guys. Like, don't be a jerk. Give them something that's going to encourage them to stay with the momentum of shooting.
No, because there actually are, but the problem is they really are jerks. They're bullies. And this is supposedly a way that they can do it that is acceptable.
It's a machismo.
I want to switch on you something. I got a buddy, actually he's in the Detroit area. He got into guns in the last few years. I know him through aviation. Then his wife did. Now they're open carrying. They've become evangelists there, and now he's become an RSO. He's a range safety officer.
Cool.
He was telling me about this match that he was working, and it's all cops. He said, let's see, I've been swept. He said, I've had them clear the gun and walk away with a round in the chamber. It's like he's going through all this stuff. I said, well, did you DQ him? Or did you disqualify him? Well, no. I said, no, stop. I said, there's only one reason that you're there. That's to keep everybody safe. And I don't care if it's the chief of police. If he sweeps people, he's DQ'd. On the spot, that's it. You're done. Put the guns away. You're not shooting this match anymore. You have been disqualified. Somebody is going to get hurt with this.
Right.
And they know the rules when they show up. And you're not there to make friends. But what will happen is you will get people's respect.
Well, in that situation, when you go to national matches and you go to some of these programs, if you don't have a range flag, and for people who don't know what that is, it's not a flag that you put in the ground. It's a plastic implement that goes inside of the gun so everybody can see that it's clear. So the action is open. It sits into where your magazine and at the slide. And if you don't have that there, you are disqualified. There's no questions asked. You're done.
Yeah, see, there's no margin for error on that kind. It's not like, well, I was working on a hot rod and I put the wrong spark plugs in, so I didn't have a good time. There's no second chance.
Yeah, but these are professionals, right? So.
Yeah. And that doesn't make it okay. I mean, we've heard those stories that they're the worst offenders to the rules because it's what they do. It's commonplace, and they stop thinking about it.
Right.
Yeah, you kind of take it for granted, complacency and all of that, familiarity breeds contempt. There's a reason why cops keep shooting themselves regularly or shooting other people regularly when they don't mean to make the gun go off. They just pull the trigger. So it just went off. Yeah, it does when you pull the trigger.
And to me, I'm sorry, you're sweeping that gun across me. I have a big problem with that.
And people
I got a real problem. That's only going to happen once around me, let me tell you. Because somebody is leaving. It's either you or it's me, because somebody is leaving here.
Right.
When people wonder why I wear a ballistic vest when I teach. Drew, why would you do that?
I know a lot of instructors who wear vests when they teach.
Yeah.
Well,
better than catching a bullet.
You betcha.
I say we've heard the stories, unfortunately, within the last couple of years of instructors that have given their students something that they shouldn't have. First of all, they don't have the ability to really properly function the firearm or be able to handle the recoil of. So that.
Well, to me, it's like glasses or hearing protection,
Exactly.
anything else.
It's just safety.
Yeah, it's whatever.
Well, and the other thing is, we do a range briefing when we go out to do television, for instance. And I'll say, okay, everybody come around, camera guys, everybody. All right, here's the deal. And we kind of run through what our rules are on guns and who can handle them and who can touch them and what's going to go. And then we always say, same thing. Everybody here is a range safety officer. Everybody, including the camera guys. If you see something that appears to be unsafe, call it out right then, and we will all stop and we will analyze it and we'll figure it all out. Because don't be saying, well, that worries me, but I'm not going to say anything because I don't know. If it worries you, let's talk about it and find a safe way to do it. But everybody, and my point is, everybody is a range safety officer. Don't be shy or unwilling to speak up.
That's a great way to put it. Everybody's an RSO. I never looked at it that way.
Yep. We see this in flying. Same deal. Go back to that. If you have two pilots flying the plane, sometimes you have nobody flying the plane because each of them is waiting for the other one to do something. There have been instances where they've actually flown a plane into the ground. Basically, I thought you had it. I didn't want to say anything. If you simply say everybody here is an RSO, everybody can and should speak up, we will have this conversation. It takes that off of everybody where they think, well, I didn't want to say anything because we had the RO over there taking care of this. No, everybody. Because he or she can't see everything. That's the other part.
Right. It's just like a referee at a basketball game or a football game or anything else. There's many line judges and angles and everything else. And I'm sorry, the point of going out to the range is everybody walking home at night together, not having to go to the hospital for an emergency or, unfortunately, death come from it. Yeah.
It's like I said, getting there on time or even getting there is not the goal. It's just everybody being safe.
You can't be sorry for safety.
But I do want to say that the whole idea of everybody's a referee, that might not work so well at ball games because right now everybody thinks they're a referee.
See, I thought you were going to say when you had the husband and wife shooting there and the husband's trying to make the call on what he should get. See, that would be my cue to say, hey, why don't you go get your wife and I a cup of coffee? And then lock the range door.
Well, I want him to be part of it, but understand on the education side of it, it's like, okay, I've been doing this for a really long time. I have a really good idea because I have shot a lot of different firearms in my career. So I hope you've come to our store for a very specific reason. I hope you've come here because you know that there's a professional standing here.
For the expertise, yeah.
Exactly.
I love this. I just got somebody on Twitter says, hearing bits and pieces of the town hall meeting sound bites. And what I'm understanding is that Obama is totally ignorant. Because he made all these crazy statements as though they're fact, and you're going, no, that's actually factually, not like an opinion, that's factually incorrect.
Right.
So
and taking credit for
something.
Yeah, we're going to have to make people get FFLs if they're going to be selling guns as a career.
Okay.
That kind of stuff. Been doing all this stuff anyway, and it must just be to the people that have zero gun knowledge that don't know that the stuff's already in place and not being supported, not being enforced.
But I think like the conversation always goes is they don't know. So they believe that what he's doing is everything that's in favor because we all want to, quotes, be safe, unquote. Yeah, we do. But the law doesn't change the safety approach of anything.
Oh, no doubt.
I will say this. The AP, Associated Press, actually looked at his talk, and they went through and just said, basically false.
Oh, they fact-checked him?
They fact-checked him, and then they said, and this would have done nothing in all of these mass shootings. They just went through the whole deal and basically said, this is just a bunch of hooey.
The AP?
The AP.
Wow, maybe things are turning a little bit.
Who knows? You know what it is? The AP is not seeking access. And the president buys off the media by paying them with access. Anderson Cooper is not going to ask him hard questions because if he does, he's not going to get this gig next time with the White House. They're going to go to somebody else.
Right. Mm-hmm. Job security.
And so they're basically, it's payola, only the pay is access, and they don't want to lose that. So that's why they don't ask them the questions that they should, and maybe even they know to ask.
And the same reason they pre-screen the questions coming to the president.
Oh, yeah, because it's all orchestrated theater. Exactly right. Well, with that in mind, I can hardly wait for this week's State of the Union address with more anti-gun theater.
Jim, wake up.
You got something else you're going to be doing? Okay.
We lost him there for a minute.
It's your turn. I am emailing you a slapogram to deliver. So,
just forward that over.
Just go ahead and get it. Actually, I'll just send it to Jim. Just self-administer.
Okay.
Hey, wow. All right, guys. Well, I'll be spending the week getting ready for SHOT Show, heading out in about a week, and then we'll be reporting back. We'll actually be doing a show from the floor of the SHOT Show.
Hey, exciting.
Which is always fun to see who shows up and what goes on. So it'll be cool. We'll see all the new
this
stuff.
year they're probably going to be up to 20 or 30 booths, I bet.
Yeah.
I think it's 760,000 square feet.
Wow.
That's just on the one floor, though, isn't it? They still do stuff in the basement.
No, that's the whole thing.
That's cumulative.
I mean, it's huge. It's not as big as CES, but it's still pretty big. I think they said if you went to every booth, it's 4 days. If you went to every booth, you could spend like 30 seconds at every booth.
Oh, my gosh.
4 days. So people say, well, did you see it all? I said, I didn't even try. You don't even, you can't.
Impossible.
And basically you just do what you can do. And what you do is you ask all your buddies, did you see anything interesting? What did you see? And then you're all going, oh, okay.
I was just going to say, you have to take a friend and map out where you're going to go and don't waver from that plan. And then your friend goes to somebody else's booth and you compare notes.
If you saw my calendar, I am scheduled every 30 minutes for the entire time, somewhere I'm supposed to be. Mm-hmm. So that's just how if you don't do that, you won't get it done. And even at that, you don't get it all done. It's just what it is.
Right.
So, but it's fun. Hey, it's fun. And about half the time I come back with no voice. So I'm going to be working on that one, too.
Yeah, well, it's too bad that the subject material is something you're not real well informed of or like.
Yeah, that's right. Why would I ever be talking? Why would I be talking a lot while I was there, right?
Just take it all in.
All right, guys. Well, I'll report back with the things that you must have once I have put my eyes and my hands on them.
All right.
Okie dokie.
You must
have a good week.
Tell your friends about the Gun Talk After Show, a more informal setting featuring Tom, Michelle, and Jim commenting on topics that are important to you. Available on iTunes and other podcatchers, and the Gun Dealio smartphone app for iPhone and Android.